Welcome to the Mixperience.
Experience is live, guys. On Spotify. This is exclusive to Spotify.
Spotify and YouTube.
So, that's right. We're going to put those in YouTube.
So Patrick, how's your day been going?
Pretty well. I'm glad to see the sun after a month of rain.
Yeah, I know it's been crazy, the rain. But when we don't have rain, we complain about that too.
Yeah, I feel like when it gets real hot, we're going to be wishing for all this rain. We're going to have to at least to dry up a little bit.
Yeah, it would be nice to get a little sunshine for at least a week, 1 week in a row.
You know, it's, to me, like, the weather determines really how much energy you kind of move on. I know a lot of people are not that in tune, or whether they realize it or not. But, it kind of goes back to mental health issues that are going on in the world. And for me, like, a bright sunny day, man, I'm up and going. But a rainy, cool day, kind of brings me down a little bit.
Yeah, and I would think with people with real bad mental health problems or depression, that type of deal, it's really tough on them, the gloomy, real drawn out gloomy days and weeks. They can really become an introvert, go into themselves and their own world there. And, for anyone out there struggling with mental health, hope you guys get help. Just remember there's always help. You're just as special as anyone else in this world. God made you and only you, and you're just as special as the next person. So please, if you're thinking bad thoughts about things, especially suicidal thoughts, talk to someone and reach out and try to get some help.
Before we go any further on the subject, I just want to say what a great job you've done at the studio in just a couple of weeks. Ever expanding, guys. But Josh here has done a great job, and Lacey behind the scenes. I just want to give you guys, some props and the hard work that's going into this podcast.
Yeah, and to start this podcast is based on promoting good vibes, comedy, art, music, and
healing.
Yeah, and basically just everyday life that we have to deal with. So, and that goes back to the mental health issue is, sometimes just holding a regular job and getting out, walking through the park, talking to people, sometimes they can combat that. But I know there's people with deeper issues where it's harder for them to, overcome things that just to even go out in public.
Yeah, so speaking of that, even for myself, and I don't know how, some people have such challenges when it comes to getting themselves prepped for even the grocery store because, and let me rephrase that. So I can relate. Even though I work in the public, I'm considered a public figure in my community. It is draining every day to be 100% and be present and be in the moment and be aware and keep up with all my people. And I love my people. But you got to give some to take some. But what I'm trying to get to is after my 10-hour day, I have to go to the grocery store or wherever to, luckily I got, big shout out to Wilkes Meat Market, my man down there. He helps me out with my carnivore stuff. But even then, I have to get in the car and find a good song to kind of uplift me while I'm sitting in traffic to be prepared for that conversation or even go in the grocery store. So I can relate because mentally I'm exhausted, and I don't want to come off outside of work as not authentic. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because, there's a lot of things that can affect your mood. Not enough sleep,
Pain,
pain,
death,
the emotional,
financials.
yeah, the emotional side of things, where the things you have to deal with, say if a loved one passed away or something like that, where, and to keep in mind, the person you're working with or the people, you never know what that person's going through.
Co-workers, friends, clientele. I mean, there's a plethora of personalities that we deal with on a daily basis that a lot of people don't see.
Yeah, and too, if you have a person, if you've known a family member, co-worker, and they're generally like this one way, right? And then their whole behavior changes overnight. There's some issues going on somewhere, and a lot of people are scared to ask, "Hey, are you okay?" Or is is there something going on? You don't, the way I try to do it is like, you don't have to tell me your personal business, but if it's concerning enough, I think it's, you should ask, "Hey, do you want to talk about something, or is there something you don't need to let me in on everything? Just is there something that you just need to talk about?"
I'm not going to say any names, but I think he's a big fan. Shout out to you, buddy. He's currently in a weight loss program that I'm helping him with. But he is also dealing with depression because of the overweight situation, but also the environment that he's in is very challenging. So, and with limited resources and funds, they can become even more challenged. So I try to put myself in people's shoes, have that perspective, and this is what the mixed experience is about. Is to network and to show gratitude to your fellow man, woman, child, or here with network. So, some of the best advice I can give to people, obviously, you got the slogan, never give up, rise above it. Things like that is easy to say, but when you're in the face of adversity, you got to look at someone for motivation. And what I could say is look at your son, whether you want to live a good home, good life with your son. When he gets older, married with kids, you want to be there for those memories. So I hope that this kind of encourages you a little bit, and those that are listening, a lot of times you may not think of life long term, but it happens quicker than that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you're young, you don't think about getting old, and you don't even know if you're going to make it to get old. You're just kind of living in a moment, but those moments that you're living in when you're young catch up with you when you're older, and as far as not living such a healthy lifestyle, and I'm not the one to preach to anyone by no means, but not living such a healthy lifestyle and not taking care of your body like you should, and and sometimes it's just not realistic in some aspects. Like if you work a hard job, to make a living, that's just what you have to do, but yeah, your toral joints and bones ache when you get older, and that's why, like, a lot of these kids out there doing gymnastics,
MMA.
Yeah, and I look at that and I'm thinking, man, these kids, they go from toddlers on up, doing things where
Tap dancing.
Yeah, doing things with the body that is just not meant to do, And
I have a good friend who she's retired as a polo instructor, and to this day she's still very skillful and graceful for her age. But she's He's pushing 60, if not over 60. However, there's times where it will rain and she's like a totally different person. She needs a cane. She'll, just that arthritis kicks in or gout, and it bothers her to the point where it affects her walking. But then there's other days, sunny days, warmer days, she can go out and jog fine.
Yeah.
But it is a mental struggle, when you're in that age group and you look back on how could I have done better to prevent this now.
Yeah, and until when you're young, but to me it seems like a lot of younger people these days have more issues when it comes to depression and those type of things than it was when I was growing up. I don't know, maybe it was just because
We didn't talk about it.
it wasn't talked about much.
Men never, we never saw our dads cry. Our dad never came out and hugged us and said, good job. They were great men, strong men. They had that leadership quality. So what I'm not trying to convey, times have changed with the cultures, but, it was called tough love. And that tough love to me helped me overcome some of the worst situations that I've been in.
Yeah. Because I've been in situations where there was no one there holding my hand, guiding me through things, and I think you have to have a strong mental, you got to be mentally strong when it comes to a lot of things in life. You just accept some things these days. I think the younger generation is so hard for them to accept.
It's a process.
Yeah, I think it's hard for them to accept,
accountability. Maybe.
Accountability. When they don't win something, and
there's a debate going on among the elementary, middle school, high school athletics where you have participation trophies. Everyone gets a trophy.
Yeah.
Back in their day, it was first place, second place, maybe third place. But, if you didn't win, you didn't win.
Well, it meant something because, that's what you strived for. That trophy it wasn't worth anything other than the time and your abilities, and
talent.
And talent.
You had to have the talent.
And see now, why even strive for that when everybody's going to get the same thing?
Literally, you can go and buy a trophy, and maybe you could beforehand, and we just didn't really know that. But I know for me, as a wrestler, track and field, and basketball player, I can tell you from experience that I strive to be the best because we had to make something of ourselves,
Yeah.
So I think growing up poor like we did helped me become more motivated to fight against poverty.
Yeah.
And a lot of my peers, even though I was athletic and gifted, a lot of my peers who were the popular kids that were also just as athletic, good looking, healthy, and happy, they actually came from a lot of wealth.
Yeah.
And they just assumed I did too. And I was ashamed to invite people over to my house because living in a single wide trailer on a dirt road, your buddies just come from a mansion with 3 pools.
They pull up and they're like,
really?
They're like, is this where your cousin lives or something?
We play Nintendo on the carpet.
Yeah.
And sometimes a roach will run across the wall, So a lot of people, and a lot, I want to say this. I get a bad rap sometimes. People that don't know me, when they first see me, because I carry myself like I'm somebody. I carry myself with the leadership of a lion, and sometimes that can come across, oh, well, he's got everything, he's got it made. You know, I want people to know that it's not because I'm arrogant or egotistical, it's I'm confident of my abilities. I've accomplished some goals. Do I have better and more goals? Yeah, I'll always have goals, but when you set small goals, I mean, what I mean small, I mean like save $5 a week, small. And I did that for a year, and I helped pay for my surgery. Just that little bit contributed in helping with my ankle surgery. And lo and behold, after my ankle surgery, a timing belt went out in my car. So I still had to fall back on my savings. And those are just little small things that make me happy as far as, you know, being responsible as a single man.
Yeah, and I think, you know, that's the misconception. If you're sitting in a car and your car is a piece of crap and you're looking at this nice car next to you and it has a man and a woman in it and they're all dressed up and looking really nice and everything else, the perception is like,
They got it made.
they got it made, they want to, you know, you want to be there. But once you achieve that, then you see another car pulls up beside you that looks way better than your nice car you have now, with a better looking couple in it. And you're like, man, they must have it made. And then it goes on, and then you figure out in the end, it's just, no one has it made.
No.
You know?
But I found it's interesting to bring that up because I was at a gas pump one time when I still had my 2008 DeWalt 4-door white. Her name was Little Debbie. I loved her. She was my ride or die. And I was pumping gas one time, and this couple pulled up in a Lamborghini, and they both were decked out, and they were having conversations about a wedding they were going to, and I got to talking to them a little bit about Limbo, and come to find out that they saved a year's worth of savings to not only rent the Lamborghini, they had to get a permit to drive it with a proper insurance coverage for 2 days, and they rented the outfits just to make it to this wedding because they were part of the catering to the celebrity. And the celebrity's nephew or something was getting married. So the celebrity invited him, but not as part of the catering, but just to have fun. And I found out later on that celebrity ended up reimbursing them for the whole experience because they went all out to be part of the whole, glamorous lifestyle, so that nobody would talk bad about it. But that's kind of a big deal.
Well, and that just too, like perception is everything.
Everything.
It's what you perceive in your own mind is your real thoughts in your real life, right? Like, when you have a relationship and you have, say, it doesn't matter if it's the man or the woman, and they're in a relationship, their perception of the other person is what they really believe who that person is, okay? He loves me, he cares about me, she loves me, then you get some people with the perception is they're cheating on me. They're cheating, and the person has maybe never cheated at all, but in their mind,
Anxiety.
So,
insecurity.
And, finding out the facts about things goes a long ways, before, you jump to conclusions and assumptions about things. And two, and that goes back with rumors, rumors can ruin a person. Just rumors alone. And we go back to mental health, okay, what best way to give somebody a case of mental health when somebody spread rumors on them and nobody ends up liking them. or anything like that because somebody just didn't like them. They just say something,
If I may interject a little bit, I can tell you some of the best people I've ever met in my life, I met through mutual friends who dogged them, talked bad about them. Folks, I'm here to tell you that please give an individual an opportunity to introduce themselves. Spend a little time with them before you just assume. Just because your best friend, your bestie, your boy doesn't like them, I get it. Not everybody's going to like everybody. We're not, especially if you have the same traits, same personality. It's hard to get along with someone, even though you might have a lot in common with. Sometimes, you just don't get along with them. But just because your mutual friend doesn't get along with this individual doesn't mean I have many friends. As a matter of fact, I've got a pair of friends that are neighbors, and those neighbors don't like each other. But I'm telling you, I can go to both houses and hang out with both couples on a summer day, go on a boat, whatever. Both great people, but they don't like each other.
Yeah.
They see each other as competition. Keeping up with the Joneses is been an old slogan here in America for a while, and I feel like it has kind of degraded the suburban lifestyle because you strive for that comfort home, nice neighborhood. It's going to be surrounded by good, like-minded people. But come to find out, it's more like Cutthroat Island.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And God forbid if you got HOA.
Oh, man.
I have found the HOA, seriously, guys, I've met an elder lady who cried for a week. She got a $70 fine because she planted the wrong kind of bush that was in a way of so the neighborhood I'm at, there's like these arches where you can walk through each house, many of them, and the bush came out probably 14 inches more than it should, and she had been there for many years. She was like probably the elder of the neighborhood, kind of like the elder in the church.
Yeah.
And everybody called her grandma. And recently she passed away, bless her heart. God rest her soul. But, I will say that it really affected her and hurt her feelings bad because someone took pictures and went out of their way to ruin her over a bush that she didn't even mean to, violate.
Yeah.
So anyone out there that's, that miserable, please find another way.
Yeah. And too, just keep in mind too, if you focus on your world and what you're doing in your life, when you're focusing on someone else and you're worried about what they're doing and what they have and all this stuff, you're sacrificing yourself because you concentrate on yourself, you concentrate on your world, and the more energy you put into someone else thinking, talking bad about them and worried about what they're doing all the time, you're not going to have what you want because you're thinking the wrong way. Your thoughts should be what you want in life, not what someone else is doing and why they're doing it and how you can go and spread rumors about it. And, so just keep that in mind where if you focus on yourself, you generally, things work out pretty good for yourself.
Josh, what a great point. You only have so much energy, okay? So you focus more. It takes less energy to remain positive than it does negative. So without going too scientific here, we all get energy frequencies throughout the earth, okay? It's not caffeine. it helps sometimes, but when you elevate your frequency and that energy, it is so rewarding to maintain that positive energy than negative. And, you know, one thing I want to add to this is the number one killer in America is not cancer, it's not car wrecks, it's not overdose, it's stress.
Stress is terrible. I mean, and a lot of it's unnecessary. I mean, if you're gonna, why put more stress on yourself than you have to? Why are you worried about somebody that
Don't worry about it.
you don't even know? Like,
Don't worry about
why
it.
even worry about somebody that you're never gonna have a relationship with? You're never gonna, you know, probably ever be friends with, or and people put their focus on stuff like that, and they worry themselves to death about what kind of car somebody's driving, what they're doing, and it's like, how do they get this? How do they get that? It's like this, as simple as this. Stop worrying about all that and think how you can do it.
And, you know, I want to touch briefly on social media because I know some people don't get on Facebook because they think it's only for the popular people or people who've got money. You know, I take advantage on all social media platforms because I network. And I literally had a good friend of mine get so mad at me because I had a church group, community group, and then you'll see a list of females. And some of these females, what they do is their business, and it's not that I'm necessarily supporting their what they do, their content. But what I do is what I post will hopefully influence them to become, you know, better as a person. You see what I'm saying? So just because I'm friends with a stripper doesn't mean I go and enjoy her stripping. I enjoy her getting that manna, you know, it's like food for thought.
Well, I'll tell you, you know, and you bring up the stripper. I mean, I've known some strippers, and you know, a lot of people misconceive. You know, I mean, yeah, you got your bad in everything, right?
Everything
But I've seen some of these girls. They, you know, they're doing it to have their way through college or stuff like that. They're not there to, you know, give, you know, every dude in the door a chance. You know what I mean? And
just trying to hustle.
Yeah.
That's the way she knows how.
And see, even having to do that, you know, that's getting what you need in life. I mean, a lot of people don't agree with it, and it's not my place to judge or say anything, but it goes back to, hey, what do you want to do in life and what you want to achieve? I mean, to a lot of women, that's easy money, you know? So,
Easy money.
I mean, if I could take my clothes off and make, no, you don't want to say that. Never mind.
Well, you know, it's interesting you say that because a lot of people who just get to know me and see me on social media, I'll post things about our lifting, and I have to make sure to add in this is for motivation or, you know, entertainment purposes. Like, guys, I want you to know, if I was egotistical, I would be deadlifting with my shirt off. You'd never see me with my shirt off.
Yeah.
On social media. That's for my ladies, and that's for, you know, those that, you know, will appreciate it because, you know, that's just, to me, too intimate. And I know men are allowed to take their shirts off, and then women, I'm not saying you gotta take your shirt off is bad. No. Men can, for me personally though, like, I see so many guys that work out, and they're usually on, you know, other athletic enhancement stuff to kind of give them that more ripped look. That's not to dog anybody in that genre either. There's a disclaimer on anything I say here. But I just want to make it clear that the perception that you may have of someone at the gym working out, it's more therapy for me, but it's rewarding to try to be a motivational, because for every 25 people that say, "Oh my gosh, thank you for that video, you helped me get to the gym, you helped me go for a walk," I'll have someone be like, "Well, you just showing off, da 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 da." And I'm like, no, like, I'm trying to get my mental clarity on point, get my health on point, so that I can financially and emotionally be here for my family.
Yeah. Until it's like you're not there. If you're taking your shirt off and all this, it's a huge distraction, and it takes away from the point you're trying to make. Is just like what you just said. Is it's more the positivity of what you're doing. Not for you to show out. It's mostly to help other people to overcome what they're going through, and just to spread positivity to those people. And I mean, it's kind of hard to do when you got your shirt off.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing?
And yes, I do flex. Yes, I have fun. And a lot of times, someone's behind the camera, and they're not expecting that. So when I do flex in a video or something on a live stream, it's really in the moment, and it's like, yeah, I can do this all day, but at some point it's going to get old. It's old news. So guys, again, we're going back to the Mixed Experience podcast here. It's about perspectives and individuals, and as humans, it is natural to have negative thoughts, but it's actually natural to have positive thoughts too. So that's what we're here for.
And I think we'll end on that note, Patrick. So,
but it's been a good podcast.
Yeah,
it has.
I think it has also, and I hope you guys out there enjoying it. You can
Shout out to all my homies and all my girlies.
Shout out.
Love you guys. Thank you guys for supporting. Please like, subscribe, and let the world know that we coming.
We coming. The Mixed Experience. The Mixed Experience.
The Experience.
YouTube and Spotify.
Check out Joshua Gaines.
Joshua Gaines YouTube. And the Mixed Experience Spotify. Thank y'all.
Oh, also, we'll have an exclusive podcast coming for a fundraiser for our brother Jason Dean. He recently had a massive heart attack.
Oh, yeah.
So we still got to get with him on a couple of details. But Saturday, this coming Saturday, we're hoping to have something a little extra special for you guys. So
yeah.
Hang with us.
So you guys join in on the live on TikTok and YouTube and probably Facebook. So, like Patrick said, we're going to do a fundraiser for Jason Dean. We'll get all the information out there on the live, and come join us, and we'll see you then. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, guys.